There's an extreme risk for boys. The risk for boys of getting an autism diagnosis in this country is now 1 in 20. These are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never go out on a date.
Oh, really?
You know we've hit rock bottom when the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services is spouting conspiracy theories that would make Alex Jones blush. That's right, we're diving into the cesspool of misinformation that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a man with zero medical training, recently unleashed about autism. And why not? He's only the person responsible for the health of 330 million Americans, for crying out loud. The same man who believes Wi-Fi causes cancer.
Wi-Fi radiation does all kinds of bad things, including causing cancer.
5G controls our minds, and vaccines cause autism.
I don't think there's any scientific question that vaccines cause autism if you actually read the science.
Is now conducting research to prove whatever bullshit theory he's already decided is true. This isn't just dangerous, it's a dumpster fire with the potential to set back autism acceptance and support by decades. So, we're about to dissect Kennedy's claims piece by bloody piece, and arm you with facts to counter the tsunami of bullshit he's unleashing from the government perch. Let's start with Kennedy's basic claim about autism rates.
ASD prevalence rate in 8-year-olds is now 1 in 31. Shocking. There's an extreme risk for boys. Overall, the risk for boys of getting an autism diagnosis in this country is now 1 in 20, and is high in California, which has the best data collection. So it probably also reflects the national trend, 1 in 12.5 boys.
Ah yes, nothing like opening with some fear-mongering statistics. Kennedy's tone suggests that we should be all running for the hills before our children catch the autism disease. But here's the reality. While the 1 in 31 figure is technically accurate according to recent CDC data, Kennedy's characterization of this as shocking and an extreme risk is complete horseshit. It's like saying that improved cancer screening rates represent an epidemic of cancer. The CDC actually reports autism is 3.4 times more prevalent in boys than girls, not the 4.1 ratio Kennedy claims. And in California, the rate is about 1 in 22 children, so about 4.5%, not the 1 in 12.5 specifically for boys that Kennedy invented out of thin air. You'd like to think that someone in such a powerful position would get basic facts correct, no?
You are fake news.
The biggest lie? Kennedy conveniently admits that health experts overwhelmingly attribute these increases to improved screening, expanded diagnostic criteria, and better access to services, not more autistic people suddenly appearing. It's almost as if, we're just getting better at identifying autism. What a concept. Incredible. Shocking. Anyhow, next up, Kennedy's favourite villain, the mysterious environmental toxin.
We know it's an environmental exposure. It has to be. Genes do not cause epidemics. They can provide a vulnerability. You need an environmental toxin.
We know. Who's we, Kennedy? The voices in your head. Kennedy's claim contradicts scientific consensus so hard that it practically gives it whiplash. Autism has multiple complex causes, including both genetic and environmental factors. Nearly 800 genes have been associated with autism, and approximately 80% of autism causes can be linked to genetic mutations. 80%. But Kennedy thinks genes don't cause epidemics.
Genes do not cause epidemics.
Someone should tell him, again, that most medical conditions aren't caused by evil corporations poisoning children for profit. But that would destroy his entire worldview, wouldn't it? It would destroy the narrative. Speaking of evil corporations...
And somebody made a profit by putting that environmental toxin into our air, our water, our medicines, our food. And it's to their benefit to say, to normalize it. To say, this is all normal, it's always been here.
There it is, the hallmark of every good conspiracy. The shadowy, profit-driven villain. Kennedy doesn't know who or what toxin or how or when, but by God, someone made money. This claim presents a conspiracy theory without a shred of supporting evidence in any scientific literature. It's the equivalent of saying someone's making money by putting chemicals in the water that turn the frogs gay.
Turn the freaking frogs gay! Serious crap!
Actual research indicates potential environmental risk factors, including air pollution and certain medical conditions during pregnancy, but at no point suggests that anyone is intentionally poisoning children to line their pockets. But then, Kennedy's never met a conspiracy theory he didn't like. So who is his latest boogeyman? Ultrasounds, that's who.
We're going to look at ultrasound, because there's a timeline that, something happened. In fact, Congress said to EPA, ordered EPA to tell us what year the autism epidemic began. The EPA scientists came back and said it happened in 1989. Oh, you have to find a toxin that became ubiquitous around that time period. And that affected every demographic, from Cubans in Key Biscayne to Inuit in Alaska. And that affects boys at a 4-to-1 ratio as girls. There's a limited universe of those, but actually it's quite large. And, Eberhard was the one who suggested that one of the things we have to look at is ultrasound.
Holy word salad, Batman. What a steaming pile. First, there's zero record of EPA scientists identifying 1989 as the start of an autism epidemic. This claim appears to be completely fabricated, it's fake news. Second, research on parental ultrasound and autism found no association between the number of scans or duration of ultrasound exposure and later autism spectrum disorder. In 1987, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders revised the definition of autism, broadening its criteria. So why is this surprising to Kennedy? A few years after that, we see the rates of autism have increased. This is basic logic. It's basic stuff.
Well, yeah, duh.
Such uninformed statements should not be coming from someone in charge of the United States healthcare system. They resemble the kind of nonsense that an intoxicated family member might spew at a barbecue. Also, the irony of Kennedy targeting ultrasound, a technology that has saved countless lives, while ignoring massive research on autism's genetic factors, is staggering. But hey, why let the facts get in the way of a good conspiracy theory? It gets in the way of the narrative. Now, when scientists call out his bullshit, Kennedy already has a phenomenal response.
I want it because this epidemic denial has become a feature in the mainstream media, and it's based on an industry canard.
The classic move. When experts contradict you, claim that they're all part of the giant conspiracy. What Kennedy dismisses as an epidemic denial is actually the evidence-based consensus of thousands, hundreds of thousands of scientists and medical professionals who have devoted their career to understanding autism. The CDC's report is literally described as the most convincing evidence yet that changes in factors like access to services and destigmatization of ASD are leading to the increases in prevalence. But sure, Kennedy knows better than all of them because he, has no medical training whatsoever. Kennedy's most offensive claim might be this one.
Why is this only happening in young people? I asked Walter before we came out here, I said, have you ever seen anybody our age? I'm 71 years old with full-blown autism, head banging, nonverbal, non-toilet trained, stimming, toe walking, these other stereotypical features. Where are these people walking around the mall? You can't find them. They're not in homes. There are no homes for them.
Jesus, where do we even begin with this atrocity? Kennedy's logic here is like saying, I've never seen a 71-year-old with polio at the mall, so polio must be new. The sheer historical ignorance is staggering. The first standardized diagnostic criteria for autism weren't even introduced until the 1980s. Before that, autistic adults were often diagnosed with childhood schizophrenia, mental retardation, validation, and other now outdated terms. And many were indeed institutionalized, often in horrific conditions that Kennedy conveniently ignores. But perhaps most offensive is Kennedy's characterization of autism as solely head-banging and non-toilet trained. This grotesque caricature ignores the spectrum nature of autism and dehumanizes millions of people. The depth of ignorance here would be disqualifying for someone leading America's health department, but it isn't. Like, god damn it, man, the United States voted these people in. Speaking of dehumanizing autistic people,
these are kids who will never pay taxes, they'll never hold a job, they'll never play baseball, they'll never write a poem, they'll never go out on a date. Many of them will never use a toilet unassisted. And we have to recognize we are doing this to our children, and we need to put an end to it.
This is one of the most unhinged statements from a cabinet secretary in American history. Make no mistake. Kennedy reduces autistic individuals to nothing more than burdens, erasing their humanity, their potential, and their inherent worth. Make no mistake, it is eugenic-adjacent thinking cloaked in fake concern. Health professionals explicitly state that autistic children add value to our communities. Advocating for resources and funding to support autistic people across the lifespan is essential for a productive and healthy America. But Kennedy can't see autistic people as valuable human beings, only as problems to be solved, or, in his case, used as props to advance his anti-scientific, anti-vax agenda. It is morally reprehensible. Now, Kennedy loves to throw around big scary numbers, and so
there's a recent study by Blaxell et al. And a team of other researchers that said that the cost of treating autism in this country by 2035, so within 10 years, will be $1 trillion a year.
First off, Kennedy misrepresents the timeline from the Blaxell paper, which actually projected $589 billion a year in 2030 and $1.36 trillion a year in 2040. So he's just making shit up again. But more importantly, the paper he cites comes from a team of researchers described by experts as notorious anti-vaxxers and has come under fire by critics. The authors are known for pushing the nonsensical, disproven, and downright dangerous vaccine hypothesis of autism, a sin that makes them irredeemable and unworthy of inclusion in a scientific journal. But Kennedy presents this fringe paper as if it's settled science. Perhaps most laughable is Kennedy's promise of quick answers.
And within 3 weeks, and probably we're hoping in 2 weeks, we're going to announce a series of new studies to identify precisely what the environmental toxins are that are causing it. This has not been done before. And we're going to do it in a thorough and comprehensive way, and we're going to get back to with an answer to the American people very, very quickly.
Very quickly? Are you sure about that? Medical experts have explicitly stated that 5 months was not enough for such a study, and that this subject has already been extensively looked at. The Autistic Self-Advocacy Network characterized Kennedy's study as a clear signal that the health department intends to produce rigged and fraudulent research. Because that is what this is. Just call it what it is. A predetermined conclusion in search of supporting evidence. It's not science. It's propaganda. Finally, Kennedy reveals his true motivation.
I want to say that I'm very grateful to President Trump because he tasked me on day one of this job with making this a priority, of finding out what's causing the autism epidemic, and we are going to do it for him.
There it is. Kennedy isn't doing this for autistic people. He's doing it for Trump. Trump has a narrative that he needs justified. This reveals the fundamental political nature of Kennedy's investigation. He's not following evidence, he's following orders to reach a predetermined conclusion that aligns with Trump's anti-vaccination views. It's no surprise, then, that Kennedy has appointed a prominent vaccine skeptic to lead the research, raising serious concerns about confirmation bias. Well, among about half of Americans, that is. The other half couldn't care less. Scientific investigations should discover truth, not satisfy political agendas. But in Trump's America, science is just another tool for advancing ideology. Okay, so what's the most infuriating part about all of this? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. pretty much all of it is. But how about this? While Kennedy wastes government resources chasing conspiracy theories, sadly, real autistic people and their families are struggling without adequate support. Instead of improving services, increasing accessibility, or advancing acceptance, Kennedy is spreading misinformation that further stigmatizes autism as a disease to be feared. His rhetoric doesn't just harm autistic people, it actively endangers public health by undermining confidence in vaccines and legitimate medical science. The autism community deserves better than to be used as pawns in Kennedy's anti-vaccine crusade. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. isn't just wrong about autism, he is catastrophically, dangerously wrong in ways that threaten public health and harm for autistic individuals, again, for decades. This damage doesn't get undone quickly. His appointment as health secretary isn't just a mistake, it's a public health emergency. He's using the power of his office to legitimize conspiracy theories and advance an agenda that contradicts established science. The real tragedy here isn't an autism epidemic. It's that in 2025, America has handed its health policy to a man who doesn't believe in science.